Our story begins with the great reformer John Calvin. In 1533, John Calvin flees Paris. For nearly 30 years, Calvin labored at Geneva. He was instrumental in promulgating truths that were of special importance in his time, in maintaining the principles of Protestantism against the fast returning tide of popery. The Great Controversy, page 236. Why, we can ask, did this man, John Calvin, had to flee from Paris, France? It was because the persecution that was taking place from the Roman Catholic Church to the Huguenots or the Protestants in France, 1530s to 1560. From Geneva, Sister White, keep going on in the Great Controversy, page 236. From Geneva, publications and teachers went out to spread the Reformed doctrines. The English Puritans, the Protestants of Holland, and the Huguenots of France carried from Geneva the torch of truth to lighten the darkness of their native land. The Huguenots converted thousands of souls in France. And obviously, that was not too good of a news to the Roman Catholics. 1545-1563, the Council of Trent hurled 125 anathemas against the Protestants. The brave Huguenots, battling for those rights which the human heart holds most sacred, had poured out their blood on many a hard-fought field. The Protestants were counted as outlaws. A price was set upon their heads, and they were hunted down like wild beasts. The Great Controversy, page 236. Here we can see a picture at the Augustine's Museum in France by the artist Anthony Ribault, 1727. An oil canvas depicting the 1562 expulsion of the Huguenots from France. On the same country, in Paris, at the National Library, you can find this picture of the execution of the Huguenots by Roman Catholics. You can see over there digging the grave where they were going to be put into if they would not accept the Roman Catholic faith. At the same National Library in France, we can find a picture by a French Huguenot where a missionary dragoon, notice they were calling a missionary. Here, this so-called missionary dragoon was nothing more than an inquisitor for the Roman Catholic Church. Here we see him forcing a Huguenot to sign his conversion to Catholicism. Again, this is an original drawing of 1686. At the same National Library in France, we can see another painting by a Huguenot using some of the methods that were used to convert what they used to call heretics to the Catholic faith. This is an original drawing from 1686. Some of the methods that were used by these inquisitors, evil persecutors, were to convert the heretics to the Catholic faith. Where you can see one of them was a rack or the wheel to stretch their extremities many times until they break them. The dungeon was another one. At the dungeon, they just kept the person isolated in the dark, cold place to keep them quiet. The flogging, where they used to whip the person until was bleeding. Uh, Hanging was another form of torturing, and slavery was also very common in those days, and of course, fire, burning them to death. That was another method of to try to convert into Catholicism. Here we see in a museum in Switzerland an eyewitness account of the Saint Bartholomew's Day massacre in Paris, France. Roman Catholics killed about 50,000 French Huguenots. Now you understand why they had to start fleeing to different part of the world, because they were being persecuted right there in France. Here we can see when the Huguenots started an expedition to find a place where they could live in peace and liberty in America. Here the Huguenots, they were approaching the shores of America in 1562. This is the fort, their home that they built right at in Florida. This is an actual drawing of the fort by the Huguenots here in America. The French maintain a good relationship with the Tumacans Indians. Here we see the chief Indian Saturiwa with John Ribault, the leader of the French Huguenots. This is a good friendly meeting between the Huguenots and Indians. Sadly, both groups, my friends, were slaughtered, killed by the Roman Catholic Inquisitor. The French Huguenots did establish a home and call it Fort Caroline, a home in the shores of what is called today the United States of America. They were the first Protestants that stepped foot in the United States for religious liberty in 1562 and paid the ultimate price with their life. This is, my friends, their story. Welcome, my friend, again to one more presentation about something that has happened in the past, but unfortunately very few people knew about it. Know about it. You're going to see in this presentation why this part of the history of the United States is such a little known. Timocan Preserve, Fort Caroline, is a national memorial, it's a national park, and even though this place was founded 45 years before Jamestown in Virginia, or 58 years before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, the Fort Caroline, as you can see right there, there is a street name in Florida they call the Fort Caroline. A little corner of this town, Jacksonville, that's where you can find this national monument, a national park called the Fort Caroline. That's the place that we are referring to in this presentation. I want you to notice right there on this sign, above the Fort Caroline sign, it says no outlet. And indeed, it is a dead-end road, dead-end street, where you're not going to find no hotels, no shopping centers. As a matter of fact, even traffic over there is so little. And I wonder why people or the enemy doesn't want the people to know what took place about in that area. Over here you can see a picture of myself showing to you that we are bringing to you information that It is right from the horse's mouth. We went to this place, we searched for the information, and we were shocked to see what took place years ago in this part of the nation in Florida. Right there you can see very few vehicles. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of cars. We saw, a couple of mothers, with their kids, running around. But there was an isolated place. Right there, that's the frontage of the national park of this such an important place. But again, there was no traffic. This is the visitor center. Right here you can see a picture of one officer over there with another one of our worker for the ministry, Jerry, and myself. This is another picture of another worker of this national park, and you can see behind us some of the figure of the instrument that the Spaniard was using into this massacre that took place from Roman Catholic people towards Protestant right here in Florida. This is a very interesting picture, worlds apart. You will see picture over there of Spaniard or Roman Catholics that were sent by the king, the Roman Catholic king of Spain, with order of the Pope to kill, like John Renault that I'm pointing out, that picture. John Renault was this Protestant that were fleeing from Europe trying to find religious freedom into this country. And instead of finding the freedom, he was killed. Here you got the picture of one of the men that was a very prominent Huguenot. He was the one who persuaded the King of France to let part of his people to come to the United States of America, to the New World, as it was known in those days. Here you see the picture of the King Charles IX, 1550 through 1574, and he was the man, the king that gave the license or the permit for the Huguenot to flee from the persecution in France and to come to the Florida. Here you see the picture of John Revolt. This was the man that was leading the group that were coming to Florida, and again he was killed by the Roman Catholic army that came from Spain. There is a monument, believe it or not. Still, there is a national park, as you can see over there, the United States Department of Interior, and his name, as you can see, is still in place in this very little known park in Florida. And on the morning of May 1st, this man with his people in 1562, he came, John Revolt. He first viewed the river, and by the way, the name of the river, it was May. He called it the May River, the River of May, because they arrived in May. But later on, the Roman Catholics changed the name to St. John's, and because when again they after they slaughtered the people in there, when the Roman Catholic arrived, that was the date of the St. John's, and thus we can see began the race with Spain to colonize what was called La Florida, and the race ended in 1565 when the defeat or the slaughtering, the killing of the Protestant by the Roman Catholics in La Florida. You can see over here a replica when the Protestant came to Florida, and established themselves in the coast of Jacksonville. Here we got a monument that was built in memory of John Ribault, this Protestant leader. Right here you see a plaque that was established, again, is their element, commemorating this event that took place in honor of John Ribault. And it's right here commemorating, says, the landing of Protestants on American soil. So right there you can see it's an official plaque established in the state of Florida. Right here you see a replica of Fort Caroline, which is near the mouth of the St. Johns River. And it's 38 miles, about 61 kilometers north of St. Augustine. These exhibits symbolize French colonists' quest for religious freedom and a desire to improve their lives. Honor their memory by not climbing on the walls or cannons. You can see it over here, the replica of this Fort Caroline, and you can see that the French flag over there, commemorating or in memory of that group of Protestant French-speaking people that came seeking for religious freedom. Again, you'll see the picture of myself over there, something that we went there. Right here you see in a picture of the Florida map, presenting to you where the Protestant came in. You see it was north of what is called today the St. Augustine. St. Augustine, it says right there where the attack on the French took place was about 45 miles north of St. Augustine. Sad to say, St. Augustine, it's a very well-known place in Florida, but not the Fort Caroline. And that's why we're bringing to you this piece of information. This is the king, the Roman Catholic king in Spain, Philip II. He was the one that sent, for the colonization of the La Florida to become a Roman Catholic place instead of Protestant. This picture is the Pedro Menendez de Avilas. He was the Spaniard or the Spanish admiral who was sent by the King Philip to destroy the French presence in La Florida to establish the St. Augustine. So the French Protestant came first, and then Pedro Menendez was sent by the King of France to destroy the Protestant in La Florida. Again, all these displays that I'm showing to you are actual pictures that you can see by going to this national monument. We did not create those pictures, and we're bringing it to you as a way of documentation or more documentations of what took place in La Florida years ago. Again, you see another display at this National Museum, and as you can see, the title is The Demise of La Caroline. And right there, Pedro Menendez de Avilas were with the Spanish was established was the Spanish admiral who founded St. Augustine and was the one that massacred of the Protestants that were fleeing or establishing themselves in seeking the religious freedom. Here you got another one. Pedro Menendez led the force of 500 men overlanded from St. Augustine to overrun La Caroline, and approximately 40 to 50 French colonies, including Le Bourget, managed to escape. Among the others, only the women and children were spared. It's very interesting to see that how about 30 or 40 people of this Protestant escaped from this slaughtering, from this great massacre. And because of that little group of people that escaped of that killing, that's how we can learn about this part of the history that took place right here in Florida a couple of hundred years ago. This place is very important at the museum, at the national park. As you can read, it's called the Spanish Pawn, because the Spaniard army, the Roman Catholic army, that's where they settled the day before when they entered into the Fort Caroline to destroy the rest of the French Protestant. Right there at the museum, when the 500 Spanish soldiers from St. Augustine marched 4 days through marsh, forest tangle, fierce wind, and heavy rainfall to encampment near here, exhausted and hungry, they rested in a downpour. At dawn, they attacked and captured France Fort de la Caroline. In the 1565, Spaniards slugging through wetlands like Spanish Pawn to overtake Fort de la Carolina. Again, it's another display. Here you see a Spaniard, what they call the Spanish Pawn, where they rested that day, the day before the attack, and you can see the path that they have kept in commemorating the path that came into for the destruction of that day. Here you see another display of the National Park Service of the United States Department of Interior. So you can see it's an official, a federal monument that has been established in there. And you can see the massacre over there that was taking place, where people were being beheaded by the Roman Catholics to the Protestant. Over here you see a display of an eyewitness, a carpenter, and listen what this man that saw what took place says. He says, the Spaniard made a horrible, tragic slaughter of our forces. So great was the anger and hatred they had for our nation. They vied with one another to see who could best cut the throats of our people. Roman Catholic, they were betting each one to another to see who will be cutting the best of the throat of the head of the Protestant. Why this is such a little known part of the history of this great nation? It says Menendez force of 500, and he split it into 3 different groups, 3 or 4 different groups, all of them going for one purpose: to destroy and to slaughter the Protestants that were established already in La Florida. This book, we're going to bring it later. We're going to bring it later into a second part of this presentation, and you will be amazed how this book, again, is not a book that, you know, we read it on the internet. We already saw one of the pages over there. It's a book written by Barbara A. Putty, a professor emerita. She's a very important professor, or the most important professor in the Department of Anthropology of the University of Florida. She's a curator emerita, meaning she's the director of the anthropology at the Florida Museum of Natural History, an author of some other books. But this book, we're going to bring to you some more information in the second part of this presentation, and you will see how this historian, this writer, explained that the Pope of this day, of that time, was the one that gave the order and sent this Roman Catholic crusade to destroy the Protestant that was being established right here into this soil that God intended to be a Protestant nation. But as we're going to keep seeing in these presentations, part 1 and part 2, Satan went from the very beginning to see this country a Roman Catholic country. My question is, or the question that we should be asking, are we still having or seeing the spirit of Protestantism in America? We know how God blessed this beautiful country. We know as Seventh-day Adventist believers how important it is for us to maintain the torch or the banner of the Protestantism in America and the rest of the world. My friends, what we're about to see, keep seeing in this part 1 and part 2, as we have seen, is a struggle between good and evil, struggle between Jesus and the enemy. The question that we should ask and pray for is, under which side is Jesus going to find us? And as we are sharing with you this part of the history, I want you to think how Rome always has worked and will keep working. Do you remember seeing when you saw that Roman Catholic priest that came with a Spaniard army? They used the Roman Catholic priest to be so friendly to the Protestant, and he was the one who convinced the Protestant that, you know, for the sake of peace, let's, you know, you will allow, we're going to, you know, tie up your hands, your arms, and we want a peace with you. Isn't that what we're seeing in the greater scale? Now, even the Adventists, the Protestants, everybody are getting to this so-called unity in the ecumenical movement with Rome. And of course, I know we always hear that we can do that now because Rome has changed. But what does God's prophet says to us? Has Rome change? Is Rome going to change? My brethren, I want you to I want to remind each one of you what I mentioned before. The Bible says that what has been happening in the past, that's what's going to be happening again. Jesus said to his disciple the day before he was crucified, I have said this to you now, so when it will happen, you will believe it. Unfortunately, it was too late for many people in Jesus' day. Likewise, it's going to be too late for many of our brethren to see what is happening. But in the next, in part 2, we're going to see in books like this, West of the Paper Line, we're going to see, and you have been familiar already with this book. Many call this book the Bible of the Jesuit. How the Jesuit has been brainwashing, so to speak, their leaders to do one thing, and that thing is to protect and to see their doctrine, the Catholic religion, being spread all over the world. We saw in this documentation, and we're going to see even more clearly in part 2 of this presentation, how the Catholic Church has been the intention since the very beginning to make not only of this new world order that we call today the North America a Roman Catholic country, but we know what the papacy is aiming to the whole world. The prophecy of Revelation, what it says that everybody wonder, the whole world wonder after the beast. It's going to be fulfilled very soon. And as we conclude this part 1, I want to invite each one of you to meditate on the which side is Jesus going to find us. So my friends, we have been seeing in this part 1, the Fort Caroline, a complete destruction of Protestantism. How Rome have planned and is planning to bring the same destruction from the beginning. As we mentioned it, and we know very clear, Rome has not changed, and it is through the grace of Christ that we still can function as a ministry, as a church. And my friend, as we think about what is ahead of us, as we're going to see on the part 2, the Fort Carolina, then we see, my friend, what the destruction of Protestantism has been taking place through the Roman Catholic Church. Haven't we seen for the last, I would say for the last 100 years, how Protestantism has been disappearing? Today we can ask, where are the Protestants, like many have said? Where are the Protestants? Well, we saw in that Fort Carolina how the Roman Catholic Church destroyed completely that group of people that came seeking for religious liberty. And as we know in prophecy, how it's going to happen at the end. People are going to be looking for a global solution, thinking that global solution, this crisis ahead. Remember, there was a big storm that was coming. The biggest storm of all is coming in this end of the world. And Rome will use the same method, the same ideas that they have, because Rome hasn't changed. In part 2, we will see the means that Rome has been using and will use and is using today through false promises, through lies, to bring the whole world under their authority. And we should be asking ourselves very seriously, my friends, my brethren, for what purpose God has been putting us or placing us into this earth, in this very part of the history. Aren't we being called the true Protestant? Aren't we being called the group of people that will be sounding the alarm to the 3 angels' messages to the people? There's so many souls that today are deceived. There's so many souls today that are giving under these false promises of peace and unity, and to this so-called ecumenical. And what's going to be seen in the future is the same thing that we saw and this that we have seen so far. Rome putting false prophets, false promises, false lies, and the destruction is going to come. So that is the reason, my friends, that we should be more than ever eager to go out, put out more billboards, putting out the truth of the Sabbath, putting more Earth, Fun and Warnings out, putting more, National Sunday Law books out, and then the whole world will see what is the real picture behind all this lies and promising and soft speech, about this loving speech that Rome is bringing even to Adventism. It is so sad when we read today in this book, The Christ of the 21st Century, we see a Jesuit writer mentioning how for years they've been getting together, religious of every denomination. Yes, you guessed it, brother. They mention even how the Adventist leaders are getting into those ecumenical meetings. This author is presenting the fact that during an academic year, he was living and working and studying together with leaders of different denominations, different churches, praying together, studying together, and it was so good, he said. It was so good into that ecumenical institution. By the way, that ecumenical institution that this Jesuit writer mentioned, it was established by Protestants in the 1960s. And later on, he said that the Roman Catholic, the Vatican purchased, acquired that institute. So Rome is bringing leaders of every denomination, and yes, you guessed it, my brethren. Yes, he mentioned that even Adventist leaders have been attending into those ecumenical institute. Now, I ask, in the view that we have seen, what is Rome going to doing by creating all these activities? Huh? What happened? It is a bigger slaughtering, a bigger killing, spiritually speaking, my friends. The spirit of Protestantism, the spirit of Adventism, we can say today, has been taken by this great institution. It's going to be taken by Rome